What's your take on this editorial in The Lancet?
Look, Jonathan, it's great to be here. I thought that was quite frankly a breathtaking editorial. The fact that we have medical providers who are making clear the impact of what it would mean for Roe to be overturned, the fact that medical providers have a much clearer understanding of the health of women and the impact, not lawmakers, right? Not lawmakers who've been making restrictions that are not grounded in real necessary medical regulations, not crisis pregnancy centers that are not grounded in any kind of medical expertise whatsoever. We have a leading medical review journal that is basically declaring the court, really taking the court to account for allowing such a horrific decision to come to pass, if indeed the draft opinion is correct.
Mm-hmm. USA Today reports, and I'm quoting here, abortion clinics nationally are reassessing and strengthening security measures following warnings from law enforcement they may be targeted by anti-abortion activists freshly motivated by the pending Supreme Court decision that may overturn Roe versus Wade. So, Alexis, have there been more protests outside of clinics since the draft opinion leaked?
Jonathan, we're always prepared for protesters, and we always have our security on high alert because there are consistently protesters who show up outside of our clinics and the clinics of other independent providers and other organizations that provide abortion funds and care. What we have seen an increase around actually started with SB 8, the Texas law that empowers bounty hunters to try to figure out who is getting abortion after 6 weeks, which is oftentimes before many people know they are pregnant. And the reward for that bounty would be $10,000. So there is a perverse incentive that has already been put into play over the last 9 months that has increased surveillance in parking lots, that has increased the criminalization of the bodies of people who are seeking access to abortion and those people who are providing care. So the reality is, we have to stay ready because of the state of play.
Well, let's talk about something that's even more extreme than what you were just talking about in Texas, and that's what the Louisiana legislature tried to do. They tried to pass a bill that would make abortion a homicide. And when that was deemed too extreme, the legislature amended the bill, which now sets prison time and fines for abortion providers and outlaws certain forms of birth control and emergency contraception. I mean, Republican state legislatures have seen this draft opinion as an invitation to pass the most restrictive laws possible, right?
The most restrictive laws, right? I mean, you're seeing what's happening in Louisiana. We also saw the kinds of laws that were being passed in Missouri, or the laws that were being introduced in Missouri, laws against ectopic pregnancy abortions, laws that were trying to prevent people from leaving the state to seek care, right? Literally imprisoning people in their own state in order to prevent them from having access to abortion. So the criminalization, the surveillance, all of the ways in which they, best are shaming people for the decisions that they are making about their own bodies, and at worst, criminalizing and, potentially, creating a felony and locking people up for the care that they seek. This extremity is the extreme nature of where they are going. It's clearly not just about abortion, right? They're revealing their intent. It's about contraception. It is about identity. It is about power and control. And where I think the American people are is the fact that they don't want lawmakers making these decisions with them. They don't want lawmakers in the middle of the decision as to whether or not they should take birth control or not. That should be between them and the person and their partner, or the person themselves, right? But at every turn, they just can't help themselves from becoming more and more extreme.